Bora. Bora.
Estamos ao vivo. Terça-feira. Muito obrigado, galera do Heavy Culture. Mais uma vez estamos aqui na nossa tradicional terça pandêmica, que parece não ter fim, né? Parece não ter fim. Enfim, enquanto isso, a gente está aqui, né? Conversando com convidados aí especiais. Hoje, recebendo aí, primeiramente, eu vou saudar os nossos queridos amigos de Portugal, Antônio e Miguel, Portugal Connection. Conexão transatlântica, como queiram chamar. Ivan, seja bem-vindo. A conexão com o Ivan já é mais pertinho aqui, de ônibus a gente resolve, né?
300 quilômetros?
De ônibus, de Uber a gente resolve, né? Seja bem-vindo, Ivan.
De Uber ele vai.
E essa semana aí a gente tá aí com grande Jarvis Leatherby, Cirith Ungol, Night Demon. Welcome, Jarvis.
Hey, hello. Obrigado. Thank you guys for having me. Love it.
Ivan?
Nice.
Beleza? Queria dar as saudações aí ao pessoal que tá conosco. Tivemos um atraso de 1 hora aí por problemas técnicos também e de equipe. E tá resolvido. Então eu já queria convidar vocês para se inscrever no canal, no Heavy Culture, acompanhar a gente nas redes sociais também, tanto no Facebook como no Instagram. E, como o Miguel já gosta, de tocar no sininho para receber as notificações. Se inscreva no canal, compartilha, se inscreve e escreve também. Compartilha ali os teus comentários para a gente saber o que vocês estão pensando. Dá um feedback para a gente, né?
Vinhetinha?
Eu gostei do pormenor do escreve.
Escreve. Foi um jargão que eu inventei na hora aqui. Igual no morro no final.
Vinhetinha, rapidinho.
É a nossa vinheta do Mestre Mantas.
Let's go!
Isso. Não se esqueçam de ir ao...
Olá, Miguel.
Okay.
É importante ir até ao Patreon Jeff Mantas para depois verem todo o sumo que ele tem lá, para poderem extrair dali.
E coisas se inscrevam no canal também, né?
Exatamente, coisas bacana. Que não vão encontrar em mais lado nenhum e podem ganhar, enfim, pedaços de história exclusivos de toda uma carreira do Jeff e dos Venom, não é? Agora com os Venom Inc.
Pergunta se ele gosta de Venom. Pergunta se o...
Já lá vamos, mas fica estendido o convite para os que nos vêm de Portugal para fazerem a subscrição do canal e claro, no Brasil, obviamente, também. E assim ficam a par, com a subscrição, ficam a par das próximas lives. Mês de junho já marcado com nomes incríveis, basta que vão espreitar até ao Facebook do Heavy Culture ou então no Instagram, e por isso têm todos os motivos para nos acompanhar e para fazerem as ditas sugestões para nós avançarmos. O Jarvis já deve estar um bocado cansado de ouvir falar português, vamos ter que passar para o inglês. Como habitual, façam as vossas perguntas em português, caso seja a vossa vontade, e nós vamos traduzi-las para inglês. Eu vou pedir que seja o António a fazê-lo, uma vez que hoje, problemas de comunicação, estou com o telemóvel, logo não consigo sequer ler as letras minúsculas, a não ser que vá buscar a lupa ali ao escritório, mas não me apetece. António, vais-me ajudar, não vais?
Vou ver se ajudo.
É isso. Jarvis, so now we speak in English. I understand you can say obrigado. And I know that you know some more words. And by the way, I don't know if you listened to this intro that we have here. It's from Jeff from Venom Inc. Do you like Venom?
Yeah, of course. I heard you actually mention his name in your intro there and a Patreon. So you guys are promoting. He has a Patreon, huh?
Yeah, he has a Patreon, and
what does he do?
We are doing this collaboration. You know, he just borrowed us this intro, and we are so happy to spread the words of his Patreon, because he has amazing stuff over there. So if you
Really?
are
Okay.
indeed, you have to
That's
look,
interesting
Jeff.
to me. Like, I'd wonder what he would have on there. Like for like $100 a month, like he'll smash his guitar in your head,
Listen.
like Venom style. But the,
It's not even near 100 euros a month. It's very, very, a small
no, I'm
amount
just saying, like that's
for the
pretty
stuff
awesome.
that
A
he
guy
has
from
there.
Venom has a Patreon. Like that's very exciting. Like I wonder what that
Hey,
is.
listen, even
Yeah.
Steve Vai has Patreon. So,
Yeah,
and he's
that's
huge.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. I obviously a big Venom fan and Venom Inc. I like what they're doing now. I always liked the stuff with Demolition Man. Those are a couple cool records, and the one that they've done recently. And we've got a lot of ties and a lot of mutual friends in Newcastle.
Cool.
So
Cool.
no, yeah, we've actually talked about doing we did a couple festivals with them, but doing a tour. And Johnny Z was managing them or was involved for a time. But we kind of lost touch with that. But I do hope that does happen. So I mean,
It
yeah,
will. I'm
fucking
sure.
awesome.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that it will when we are free again.
Right.
Free again. Maybe next
Free
year.
at last. Free at last.
Yeah. Okay. So, by the way, Jarvis, thank you so much for joining the Heavy Culture family. And we are a recent channel looking to spread the words, and most of all, as someone called us, we are the children of the pandemic. Only a year, but we are doing our best to give the chance to others like us to speak with with people that we admire, and that they are doing a wonderful job, with music that we all love. And you are one guy from a great band that has been around for a long time, but most recently you guys are having the spotlights again, pointed at you. And we have some questions about your career. And most of all, thank you for having the chance to be with us, and to be a new member of this
Yeah, great.
this
Yeah, hey,
family
look,
that we are trying to build.
yeah, any positivity right now is good. So like everything you said was great, like that's it. There's enough
Yeah.
negative stuff out there it's not gonna even fucking matter in the end. So that's great, man. Yeah. Yeah, any Cirith Ungol or Night Demon questions, yeah, fire them away, I'll do the best I can as always.
Okay, in English, also for someone that might have a question, please go to the chat on your right on YouTube channel and place your questions there. And I'm sure that we'll try to have some time to send the message to Jarvis, and Jarvis for sure will reply to your questions. Okay, so the first question comes from JK Jorge. Aí vem a primeira. It will be in Portuguese, and then I'm sure that Anthony will translate for English.
I got it.
Ok. 2015, começar do início, né? 2015, o Jarvis organizou um ensaio que foi o ponto de partida para a reunião do Cirith Ungol, né? Eu queria que ele trouxesse para a gente os bastidores disso, né? Como surgiu essa iniciativa, né? Como se deu esse retorno, né? Que foi encabeçado por ele. Né?
Okay, Jarvis. Thank you once again for being here. And the first question takes us back to 2015. And you organized a rehearsal that became the starting point for the reunion of Cirith Ungol. And we would like to know how that came about and what's the story behind all that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, I've known those guys for quite some time, especially the drummer Robert. So, we're both from Ventura, California, and there's really never been any other heavy metal bands that have come out of there to really do anything. So we're like an hour north of Los Angeles, to kind of put you in that scope, right? There's a large history of punk rock, hardcore, skate punk from the Oxnard, Ventura area that we come from. It was kind of dominated by that. And within that, there wasn't much heavy metal. But Cirith Ungol was always kind of these bands that that was always around. Like when I was a kid, I would always hear the name, you know, and they were just a local band. You know, they broke up in 1992. So you know, by the time they broke up is when I first started going to concerts, because I'm much younger than those guys, you know. So, you know, through the years, there's just been a lot of talk about, you know, whatever happened to that band kind of thing, you know. So I spent the good portion of, I want to say, maybe almost 10 years trying to like encourage those guys to do something and trying to get a hold of the members and stuff like that. And then I became better friends with Robert, the drummer, and Tim, the singer. And I think it wasn't until Night Demons started to tour a lot around the world is that we noticed there's this other subculture, you know. I mean, Night Demon did one of the longest tours of Brazil as any metal band. We were going to Portugal all the time, right? You know, all these places, Spain, Italy, France, Germany. And we were seeing these Cirith Ungol, people had like t-shirts, patches, tattoos, right? And back home in California, nothing ever happened for the band. Like Cirith Ungol, they never toured, ever. They just played in their local area. They went to Mexico one time in 1982 for one gig. But other than that, they never left California, and they just played in a regional area. But people had heard about them all over the world because their records were distributed all over, and they were in magazines and fanzines, and they'd always be playing in LA with, you know, Rat and bands like this. But they were early friends of bands like Rush and Judas Priest. Like when those bands were coming to America and nobody would see them, Cirith Ungol were like their friends, you know, Iron Maiden, bands like this. But anyway, it's such a long story, but I know this is the long answer, but through the years, it was just a thing of legend. And so when I started to tour with Night Demon going all around the world, we said, hey guys, like, yeah, maybe nobody cares about you here in California, but all over the world, people are, you know, festival promoters were telling me that like they've been offering the band thousands of dollars for years to reunite for 15 plus years since like 2000, and they never did. And that's true, you know, but it wasn't until we got to come back and say, guys, look, there's something here. I would send the band pictures of this is what people are wearing over here. Somebody's making the money off your name and it's not you. I mean, maybe that's what got them, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's a whole bootleg market. If you just let your business or career die, right, and then people love it and take off with it. So anyway, I decided to do a festival in Ventura, California, a heavy metal festival, and I wanted to name it Frost and Fire after the band because we're all from this town. So I did that in 2015, and I arranged an autograph signing session with all the members that were alive. So it was Tim Baker, Robert Garvin, Mike Flint Vuja, who was the bass player on all those records, Jim Barraza, the guitar player from Paradise Lost, and Greg Lindstrom, one of the founders of the band. So they all came. Some of these guys hadn't seen each other in like decades. It was crazy. And people flew in from all over the world to the festival. It was only a one-day festival. It had never been done, just to meet these guys, okay? They were coming in from all over the world just to meet them and shake their hand and get them to sign an album or something. So they really saw, they're like, wow, there's like something here, you know, people really, like, this is crazy. So a friend of mine, Oliver Weinsheimer, who books the Keep It True Festival in Germany every year, it's like a 3,000 person festival. He flew over too, and we had a meeting the night of the festival at a sushi restaurant across the street, and he offered the band like, hey, I will pay for everything, and you know, there's a good payday in it, and you get to play in front of 3,000 fans that really love you. You can headline the festival next year, come to Germany. And that's what we did. And it's been like, that was in 2017. And so it's been like 25 shows around the world since then. The band has still never really toured when you think about it. But now they're headliners at festivals all around the world. So it's such a long story, but that's what I can answer right now with keeping it as brief as I can.
Okay.
Before Antonio translates this to Portuguese, I would like to say something about the Keep It True festival. So I don't know if you agree. It's not the first time I hear this about this festival, this specific festival that brings bands together again and bring them back from the dead. Let's call it like that. It's not the first band that makes this path because of an invite, and they see this big mass of people that really care for the band, and here we go again. What can you tell us about this?
I can say that the promoter Oliver is pretty persistent, and he can back it up. He can provide a good experience, a friendly experience, no shady business bullshit. He pays pretty well. I mean, as much as he can, but and there's a built-in audience. I mean, the festival would sell out no matter who plays, but everybody, the thing is, the audience knows they can trust that everything that they see there is going to be legitimate to what they like. Okay. And even if it's a thrash band or something, like, it'll be the right one, so, it's just a proven festival, and that's kind of how it goes. Now, the back side of it, the dark side of it, the problem that I see is that, I mean, look, it's everybody's right to go out and play, but I think that, and what I was afraid with Cirith Ungol is sometimes these bands, they reunite and they get their opportunity to do this, and it's great because it's like redemption for their career, right? Because let's face it, most of these bands they're not in the band anymore for a reason, right? Like, the band broke up for a reason, like they weren't successful enough to keep playing, or they gave up at some point. And maybe who knows, bands break up for all kinds of reasons. There's probably some bad blood or something. It's tough being in a band, so it takes a lot of guts. But anyway, sometimes these bands reunite and they play in front of 3,000 people, and they love them, and people have been waiting their whole lives. And then they think, like, okay, we're back. Like, we're 60 years old, like, let's quit our day jobs. Like, we're finally going to tour. Like, we're rock stars. It's like everything is an Anvil movie, but it's not, it becomes Spinal Tap very quickly. So I'm very happy that the fans have really embraced Cirith Ungol. 90% of our fans are probably a generation or two younger from the main guys, and that is fucking cool. And the band is on the charts, legitimately on the Billboard charts, and like, in the single digits of the German charts. We've gone all over the world. They're making new music at a high level, which is something that I tried. Even, I'll be honest, I didn't want them to make another record. I was hesitant, after 30 years of not doing that. History has proven that that's just really not. There's no reason to. It's not good. Don't fuck with the legacy. You change a lot in 30 years. But I'm here as the gatekeeper, I guess, and I'm looking always at it as a fan. And I make sure that I try and get these guys, or that the band is always doing right by the fans, right? And we're doing it for the reasons of that, and we're not making music just to make it. And if it's not good enough, it's not being released. But so far, so good. And I got to give it up. Well, some of these guys are like creeping on 65 years old, and we're still playing at a high level, right? So here it is, man. If there's a thing that would never happen, and after 25 years of darkness, Cirith Ungol lives, man.
And I'm sure that the fans all over the world are quite happy. Let's translate this the best short way we can. No, don't worry. The best way possible.
Resumidamente, o Jarvis, como fã da banda, sempre se tentou manter-se em contacto com os membros originais da banda, acabando por se tornar amigo de alguns deles, e nas tours que ele fazia com os Night Demon, e ele reparava, vezes sem conta, que no meio dos fãs, nos concertos, havia muitas t-shirts de Cirith Ungol, e ele sempre achou que havia uma possibilidade da banda voltar ao ativo e com sucesso. E em 2015 organizou um festival na Califórnia, onde convidou os membros da banda para uma sessão de autógrafos, que foi um sucesso. E nesse mesmo festival estava o organizador do Keep It True, do festival na Alemanha, que imediatamente convidou a banda para tocar, e em 2017 eles foram lá a tocar, e desde então já deram mais de 25 concertos, e não fazem tours naturais, com datas fixas e seguidas, mas vão tocando aqui ou ali e a provar que continuam a ser uma banda de sucesso, mesmo após estes anos todos de existência.
E continuam a ser, e estão a ser headliners. Isso é um ponto,
estão a ser headliners.
É um ponto importante. É um ponto importante. E o facto dele também ter dito que existe o lado negro, porque eu depois acrescentei a questão sobre esta situação do Keep It True estar a ressuscitar bandas que vêm do passado e que acabam por retomar as atividades depois de perceberem que há vontade de trabalhar com eles, de os verem novamente ao vivo e com discos novos. Ele ficou obviamente muito satisfeito com a possibilidade de ver o Cirith Ungol novamente no ativo, e depois fala também do outro lado negro, que é aquilo que nós, por norma, não sabemos, que é o facto de, se a banda acabou a determinada altura, é porque de facto havia ali qualquer coisa que não estava a funcionar bem. Umas vezes há bandas em que esse regresso acaba por se tornar um sucesso, mas se calhar são mais as vezes que ao fim de X tempo, uns com os outros, aquilo acaba por levar novamente aos mesmos erros que existiram no passado. A próxima pergunta, vamos avançar já sem grandes delongas, porque esta aqui foi das grandes. Esta pergunta e resposta. Ivan, vamos a isso.
Vamos lá. O Cirith Ungol é de uma escola bem diferente do Night Demon. O Cirith Ungol foi formado lá nos anos 70 ainda. Então, e o Night Demon já muitos anos depois. São escolas diferentes. Eu queria saber dele como é que ele percebe esse paralelo entre as escolas, essa velha escola do heavy metal mais tradicional para essa nova onda do heavy metal tradicional, visto que ele é um cara bem ativo dentro do meio, assim. E qual é o paralelo que ele percebe nessas subdivisões dos estilos hoje em dia, que a gente tanto escuta hoje em dia?
Boa.
Ok. Eu estaria a ouvir o Rally de Portugal com delay no Brasil.
Não.
Quem é que anda aí? Só quem é de Portugal é que vai perceber. Nós tivemos o Rally de Portugal novamente. Aconteceu no fim de semana passado. Barrote, tu foste lá? Não foste. Foi mais perto de ti, olha, tens razão. Então vamos para a tradução da pergunta do Ivan. So, Jarvis, Ivan was asking about, the different school of Night Demon and Cirith Ungol, different schools, different periods. But he was asking, getting close to the old school idea of Cirith Ungol. He would like to ask you to make this parallel between both schools, the old and the actual school of heavy metal, and also as he was trying to look the way how do you see metal today? This thing called genre, subgenre, and subgenre. What can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll say that Cirith Ungol was formed in 1972, and at the beginning of 1972, at day one of 1972, and they're one of the first heavy metal bands. I mean, they really are. And the stuff that they were doing in the 70s was, I mean, I know you guys had Bobby Liebling on the show the other day, and just like Pentagram, it's the same thing. I mean, we're uncovering things from this band every day. we just released their 1978 demo, the Orange Tape, which there was probably 50 copies at the time. These guys are super embarrassed of, but I listened to it. It's amazing. It's like early power pop. It's like if the Cars were metal in 1978. It's crazy. Like a lot of different proto metal influences, proto punk. It's just amazing. Like I don't know. I can say Night Demon's an old school band for sure. We play an old school style, so we're not too far removed from that. But we've also grown up in other areas. So we were influenced by punk, and we were influenced by thrash metal, and we lived through it, you know. So you can't start an old school band in 2011 and say, you know, you've had 30 years of other shit in your ears too. So can't help but be influenced by something else, make it a little bit more current. The state of metal today, yeah, look, there are so many subgenres. We have more subgenres than any other genre of music by far. By far. I hear new ones every day, guys. Every day. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that it's great. I mean, whatever, you know, like the more the better. I mean, I'm glad to be in a heavy metal band, and, you know, in these days when it's so hard to make a living doing it, I mean, our fans are so loyal, and, you know, merchandise and visual art and merchandise is such a part of what we do. It makes heavy metal being a heavy metal musician is one of the greatest art forms. You get your fill of everything on the spectrum, right? When you're talking about great artwork, you're talking about performance, you're talking about performance art, you're talking about sonics in music, you're talking hardcore musicianship. Okay. I mean, like, you really have all of that. And, you know, I've played a lot of different styles of music in my life, but it started with metal and it pretty much ends with metal. And for those reasons, other styles of music make you better at something like this. So it's good to listen to everything. But I guess the short answer is, you know, there's so many hipsters and scenesters nowadays, even online, it's crazy. Like, I just try and tune that out. And I like it better now when I hear music, if I don't know who it is. Because a lot of times I'm clicking on a screen that's saying, listen to the new this song. And I'm already expecting something. And if it's not, doesn't blow my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, this band's big and now they suck. You know, it's unfortunate that I think that way, but I do. So a lot of times now I just like to hear it. And, you know, sometimes I'll think, wow, this is really not for me. And then I'll go, wow, that was that band. They're pretty big. I'm not a fan, but I've heard of them, you know, like, but we went down to Brazil September of 2019, I believe, for the September Negro Fest that Edu Lane puts on there. And it was awesome. He had a great mixed bill. I mean, it was Cirith Ungol, Night Demon, Midnight, Exodus. He had the death metal, black metal, and everybody was cool. Everybody loved it, right? We've also played festivals in the beautiful countryside in Europe in the summer, beautiful atmospheres where it's like all black metal and death metal, and then it'll be just Night Demon or just Cirith Ungol or both the bands. And like, we like it because we stand out in a good way, but like, you need diversity in your experiences now. I think everybody has such short attention spans these days because of the way we live. We can get everything at the push of a button. I like going to concerts now where not all the bands are the same. It's really cool. I mean, some of them don't make sense to me. Like if you have an indie pop band or a rap band and then like a thrash band, it's like I like it's more. If you go to a metal festival, you know, you have a mix. You've got death metal, black metal, power metal. You know, heavy metal is, again, we're getting into subgenres. I don't know. Take it away.
unless it's Anthrax and Public Enemy, right?
Well, okay,
they can play together.
Dude, that's, you know, actually, funny enough, we did a show once. Night Demon used to be in a band with another band. We combined both bands to call it Big Band. There was 2 drummers and 2 bass players, and like we had all these guys. We used to do cover songs, like cover gigs. And Chuck D moved to Ventura. He moved to our town. And a friend of ours in that band, Chris, he saw him at like a fish restaurant and he asked him, hey, if we do Bring the Noise at this big festival, will you come and do it? And he said, yeah, sure. So we're playing the gig, and we don't know. He didn't show up, so we're just playing. We're every song we're like, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? And he showed up in the middle of the set, and we did Bring the Noise. We covered the Anthrax version with him. It was really good. So anyway, yes, I agree. That was just a name drop thing I was doing there. So anyway, carry on.
That's cool. Miguel.
Congelou. Congelou, Miguel.
Acho que não se ouve.
Contigo, Barrote.
Pronto. Foi mais uma resposta extremamente longa. O Jarvis diz que hoje em dia, todos os dias, houve um novo género dentro do metal, e que isso é bom. Isso é bom. É bom haver diversidade, mesmo fora do metal, ouvir de tudo. Isso também os torna melhores músicos, e torna todo o metal melhor ainda, porque traz novas influências que também por si criam novos estilos, e tudo isso é bom. Ele acabou por falar de uma curiosidade de num festival estarem a tocar e encontraram o Chuck D dos Public Enemy num restaurante, e perguntaram-lhe um bocado em tom de brincadeira se estaria disposto, se eles fizessem um cover do Bring the Noise de Anthrax, se estaria disposto a participar com eles no concerto.
Que legal, hein?
E ele apareceu e participou, e eles tocaram o cover de Bring the Noise dos Anthrax.
Olha, que legal, cara.
Foi um momento curioso. Passamos então, a próxima pergunta seria do Miguel. Ele não está ativo, se calhar faço eu a pergunta.
Pode ser, Barrote.
Queríamos então perguntar ao Jarvis que no próximo dia 28 de maio vai ser lançado um novo EP chamado Half Past Human pela Metal Blade, e qual é a expectativa da banda em relação a este lançamento? So Jarvis, on May 28th, Metal Blade will release the new EP, Half Past Human. What's your expectation as a band about this release?
You know, these 4 songs are reimagined for the current day. So this is a thing that's like, you know, the band released a full-length album last year called Forever Black. It's the first album they've done in 29 years. This EP is just something that when the pandemic hit, you know, it was kind of like, well, fuck, these guys are 63 years old. We've got these big festivals planned. They put out a record for the first time in 29 years, you know, and it's like, okay, now they're going to be 65. We're going to have to go back out. You know, that does become a factor at a certain point. I mean, I'm not saying that, we'll be fine. But I think about those things, you know, it's like the time for these guys is now. I don't want to put their lives on hold when they just got it back, you know?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I mean, they're fine, but age is, you have to just consider that. I mean, I don't know. I could, you know, who knows? I've lived a crazy life, right? I mean, like, you know, any of us at any point could go down, but this is something just to get the band by, to keep us active, to keep us, you know, to keep us doing something, because, you know, my fear is like at that point, if you stop playing for a couple of years, I mean, it's just harder to get back. It was hard enough after 25, but anyway, I digress. The songs on this EP are songs that these guys wrote like in the 70s when they were like in junior high, and like, these are songs that were never released to the public or professionally recorded. So we kind of dug into the past and said,
70s.
Let's see what we have here, you know? And we said, how would we play them today? And they're pretty true to the originals, but there's some things we obviously enhanced, and we got.
But you added the color of today, right?
Right. But it's cool because, again, like, there's something about creativity that your life just, you know, you got to think your life changes so much from year to year, decade to decade. You can really notice it. And it's impossible to be the same person you are 40, 50 years later, you know? So it's cool to have things like that because you can bring something from the past and make it new and fresh, and it's truly legitimate and it's real, and that's what's really cool about this. And these songs came out so good. I'm really proud of them, man. Like this is stuff they wrote before like really heavy metal was really even a thing, you know. I mean, you had your Black Sabbath, your Purple, your Zeppelin, you had the big three, you know. You had I think Priest was starting to come around that time, but not really, you know. You had Rush, but and all kinds of other shit these guys were listening to. Dust, Sir Lord Baltimore, Lucifer's Friend, early Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, Legs Diamond, you know, The Sweet, Slade, so much cool.
Warhorse.
Yeah, exactly. So much cool, early, just badass shit, you know. Anyway, yeah, that's the deal with Half-Past Human. So
that's great. So is there any other songs from that era that might be included in some future EP or something like that we can expect?
Let me just say this without totally burying these guys.
Okay.
You know, we live in a very politically correct world these days. Or cancel culture is the new that's the new normal. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's fucking bullshit in my mind. I mean, like, you can't just cancel somebody. What are they going to do? Go home and say, okay, you're right. I'm an asshole. I'm going to kill myself now. I mean, come on. It's the new form of bullying. I think we should be more forgiving and realize that we're all human and just help one another. Okay. Help somebody get better if they need it. Anyway, with the Cirith Ungol stuff, you know, in the mid 70s, you had, you know, Scorpions had a top 10 album called Virgin Killer, okay, with a underage naked girl on the cover. Blind Faith in the late 60s had one with a young naked girl on the cover. I mean, I'll just say, yeah, right, House of the Holy, right? I'm not saying, hey, if you made a joke back in the day that is not correct today, you know, don't be too big to go back and admit it was wrong. I mean, that's fine. I agree with that. Okay. You know, there's things that happened back in the day that are not okay today that we now know. Okay. But well, when they're 13 years old writing a song called Tight Teen or something, you know, like this, like, I don't know. There were some titles. I think I'll share. One of the titles was called Flesh Dart. But I mean, come on. What do you do when you're a kid in junior high? I'm not going to say anything more because it's not fair because these guys aren't here to represent it, you know, right? I didn't write the songs, but I agree. I mean, there's just things when you're young and you got to think time is a factor. You're talking 45 years ago, man, or more. Okay. They're good-hearted people. I mean, they really are. They're the least. These guys at their heart and soul. I mean, they're not homophobic, racist, anything of the sort. Their music never reflected that either. But I'm just saying, you know, I'll put it to you this way. My first band was called Toxic Semen. Like, you know, it's just something when you're a kid. Oh, that's cool. That's fun. You know, so I'm just saying, I think we got the best of these songs on this EP, and I don't think any of the other stuff will ever see the light of day because of it dates itself in that way. And plus, I mean, come on, these guys don't want to be 60 in their 60s singing about you know, like, look at my dick, you know, kind of like or like you know, we'll show you up, you know, at the show, like the competitive rock and roll kind of
like they were teenagers.
Yeah, you know, like, we're the best band around, like, you know, we're here to kick your ass, you know, like, that's they don't need to say that, they just do it.
No, they are in established band.
They prove it. So anyway, that was a great question. Yeah.
Ok. Portanto, resumidamente, o EP Half Past Human é uma coleção de canções que já tinham sido escritas na década de 70 e que eles resolveram lançar, até porque no mundo que vivemos hoje em dia, e até pela idade dos membros da banda, nunca se sabe o dia da manhã e pode nem existir o amanhã. Então eles decidiram voltar atrás aos arquivos e pegar nas músicas, em 4 músicas, e dar-lhe uma roupagem de século XXI, digamos assim, e lançar o EP, porque podia ser agora ou nunca, e eles decidiram avançar com a gravação do EP. Eu aproveitei e perguntei se eles não teriam mais músicas que pudessem significar um novo EP no futuro. Ele diz que sim, que há algumas músicas, mas que até dado o atual estado, digamos, político, um bocado sensível, vamos chamar assim, eles não decidem, essas músicas já não vão ver a luz do dia, porque foram escritas quando eles eram muito novos. Os temas hoje em dia chocariam muita gente, e não faria sentido nos dias que correm essas músicas verem a luz do dia. Portanto, não vai haver mais um EP com a história parecida com este. Próxima pergunta, JK.
Ele citou aí o Forever Black, né, 2020, né, que foi o álbum depois aí de 29 anos de um hiato, né? O Paradise Lost é o nome do disco, não da banda, né? O último álbum do Cirith Ungol foi em 91. 1991. E o Forever Black, né, depois de 29 anos, aqui trouxe uma banda bem revigorada, cara. E eu gostei muito do play, né? Eu queria saber se esse play, esse retorno, né, demorar 29 anos, cara, e causar um impacto, né, positivo, enfim, como é que eles sentiram-se confortáveis após todo esse tempo, quase 30 anos, né? Se o álbum atingiu a expectativa deles, como é que eles enxergam esse Cirith Ungol moderno aí?
Okay, so the question is something that you already talked briefly about. Forever Black, which was released in 2020, was released 29 years after the 1991 album Paradise Lost. So what's your view on this album compared to the previous one, and also compared to the times we are living in relation to metal?
Okay, well, I think it's a great way to leave off from Paradise Lost, because the majority of the music the riffs were written by Jim Barraza, who's the guitar player on Paradise Lost. So it's the natural progression. We did get Greg back in the band, who had not been in the band since 1982 or 3. So like that was cool, because a lot of songs that Greg wrote ended up on King of the Dead and on One Foot in Hell, their 1987 release. So a lot of his creativity lived on within the band. But when they got Jimmy for Paradise Lost, it was a whole new thing. And they finally had a record that sounded great. Ron Gowdy was the producer on that record. He recently passed away, unfortunately, but he's done a lot of classic records. That was their first record that sounded really good, so it's a good way to leave off. And then Greg came in with some old school stuff and some songs that he had too. So we got a great mix of both. I think, again, I will be there, always the guy last in line to edit everything and say, hey, as a fan, does this pass? And if it does, it comes out. So that's why that's there. How does it compare to metal today? Is that what the question is? I mean, yes. Look, I think it couldn't have done a better job by today's standards. It's extremely heavy. It's extremely doomy, but there's no click track. There's no samples on the drums. It sounds like a real band. It sounds like loose, like Cirith Ungol. But here's the thing. Tim Baker's voice is so unique, and you can't replicate it. Nobody sounds like him, and he may have been misunderstood for all those decades. He was ahead of his time. you know, the bands that are around today, you know, if the kids, any young people that are into music, anybody below the age of 30, basically their first favorite band was already screaming at them, you know? And so they hear Tim Baker's voice and they hear this guy go up there at 65 and do this. Like, that's right up their fucking alley, man. And you add some good doomy fucking epic doom behind it with like epic metal parts and like amazingly crafted solos. Like, it's not just a shred fest, you know? And it's not Cookie Monster. It's like there's something there, man. These guys mean it. And you know, the title Forever Black and the post-apocalyptic theme that we had in there and the dystopian society themes that Paradise Lost leaves off with the Dante trilogy right into this record 29 years later. And it comes out right when the pandemic hits. I mean, you know, hey, it's a prophecy. There's something these guys know, and I'm happy to be along for the ride, and I'm glad that they trust me to steer that ship.
Nice. Ok, so, portanto, resumidamente, o que ele diz é que a banda na composição deste novo álbum, basicamente, as mesmas pessoas estiveram envolvidas comparativamente ao primeiro álbum Paradise Lost de 1991. E o som, ou seja, o som da banda está lá. Ele, Jarvis, como fã, acaba por fazer a filtragem final daquilo que é o melhor para a banda, até de acordo com os dias de hoje. E em relação ao metal, ao mundo do metal hoje em dia, acaba por ser natural, porque o vocalista já naquela altura estava à frente do seu próprio tempo. E hoje acaba por ser natural, porque cai que nem uma luva no estado do metal atual em todo o mundo. E basicamente é isso. Resumido. Ivan, próxima pergunta.
Muito bom.
Não estamos a ouvir.
Sorry. Vamos trazer um pouco mais para a atualidade aí da carreira do Jarvis ali, falando sobre o Night Demon. Eles lançaram o último álbum deles, o Darkness Remains, em 2017 ainda. Já faz 5 anos. E os shows deles são bastante energéticos, assim, bastante passional, eu até diria. Tem alguma novidade, alguma coisa chegando do Night Demon? Algum álbum?
Boa.
EP, alguma coisa?
Ok, Jarvis. Let's focus our attention now on Night Demon. And your last album was released back in 2017. Darkness Remains. That's its title. And what Ivan wants to know is, how are the things with the band right now, and if there are any news on the horizon that you can give to us.
So we're pretty separated right now. Armand is in Ventura, California. Dusty, our drummer, is in Pennsylvania on the East Coast.
Okay.
And I'm in Northern Ireland. So
okay.
Yeah. So we're pretty spread out right now. We did release 5 singles in 2020, 5 7-inch singles. And we started a weekly podcast called the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, which every Friday we have a new show. And we're in our 44th consecutive week right now. And, you know, Rick, the cool thing is that we have our second highest listenership is from Brazil. So it's great. We've got a lot of fans in Brazil. We've done a lot of touring down there, and we definitely miss being down there. Yeah, you know, we plan to do some more writing in October this year. We'll be back together, but our next record will be coming out April 15th, 2022. It's pretty much done. We're waiting a little while on this because we've released some music during this lockdown, and it's been okay, but like we really want to be able to tour when we put new stuff out. So there won't be as big of a gap between albums next time. So April 15th, 2022, our next full length will come out. And then hopefully within a year and a half after that, the other one will follow, you know? So.
Ok. Portanto, boas notícias. Já tem planeado no dia 15 de abril de 2022 o lançamento do próximo álbum. Eles querem que o álbum seja editado numa altura em que já possam suportar o mesmo com uma tour, e não agora, em que não podem fazer isso, mas já está prometido. Falou também de um podcast. Entretanto, o Jarvis desapareceu, não sei se perdemos a conexão, mas falou de um podcast que ele e a restante banda, porque eles estão separados geograficamente e bastante separados, mas eles têm um podcast que todas as sextas-feiras, do qual, curiosamente, o Brasil é o segundo país com mais ouvintes, e que já vai na semana 44 sem interrupções, e por acaso eu até queria fazer-lhe uma pergunta para ele falar um bocadinho mais sobre esse podcast. Não sei se posso,
Claro.
Porque ele acabou por não dizer qual é o conteúdo exatamente desse podcast, e fiquei curioso.
Eu também quero.
So Jarvis, about the podcast, you mentioned the podcast that you are doing with the band members. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What's the contents of it?
It's so cool, man. It's like the coolest thing I've been able to be a part of. So it's curated and put together by a host that's a big fan of the band. So it's not like the band sitting every Friday, like drinking beers going, hey, how was your week? It's not like that. It's a much more journalistic approach. So there is like each episode has a theme. Like maybe we're talking about a certain album that we did, or a song, or a tour, or a music video, or we get into extensive breakdowns of it, where he's playing like original tracks from the studio. We're talking about how he created the song. Here's the guitar solo. Here's the demos. It's got interviews with the producers, with our tour crew, with fans, people that have been around, people that work with the band. The band gets interviewed every week, and we don't talk to each other about it. We answer the same questions, and our stories line up. It's crazy, you know? So it's really interesting, and we have so much content. And then we have a subscriber thing, kind of like a Patreon, but it's on our own website. And every week we have bonus episodes, demos, live shows. Like we have a lot of stuff. So every week it's something very interesting. This week we're talking about the early days, the music we grew up on, and demos of our first bands and the band getting together. And it's really cool. I recommend it even for people that don't even know who we are. If you want to learn about like a real band that like started when they were 30 years old in a time when music was pretty much dead for a career, and like we really sacrificed a lot, and it just tells you our whole story is there and everything behind everything we do. And it's really interesting to hear the people around us talk about it. You know, the fans, the friends, the family, the record companies, the agencies, the journalists. Like it's great to always have them on the show. They really tell the story. So it's like storytelling, but it's edited like that, you know?
Okay, so you also invite fans, and not
like,
only people that work directly with the band.
You know, we do Q&A sessions like this a lot, but sometimes a lot of times if it's a fan, it's because we know them, or like we're doing an episode about a certain thing. But what we're planning on doing is once we start touring again next year, we're going to start talking to fans and people while the tours are happening, at the festivals, at the shows, and they'll be on the show, and we'll be able to, because you know, it's always, you can always go back and remember things, but to actually have something while it's happening, I think is going to be really cool. So
nice, very nice. Portanto, o podcast que toda a gente pode subscrever na página web dos Night Demon tem todo o ar de ser bastante interessante, pelo que ele explica. Basicamente eles falam, é feito por alguém que é fã da banda e não por eles diretamente, mas todas as semanas são entrevistadas ou os membros da banda ou pessoas ligadas de alguma maneira à banda, tal como produtores, músicos que participaram, com eles em algum momento da carreira, tudo e mais alguma coisa que esteja ligada à banda. Um dos projetos que eles têm é quando for possível começarem a fazer concertos ou voltarem a fazer concertos, ter também fãs a participar no podcast, nas datas que forem sendo feitas ao longo por todo esse mundo. Portanto,
a iniciativa é excelente, né? É uma iniciativa excelente de se manter ativo com os fãs, né?
A próxima pergunta
vamos
seria
vamos colocar uma do Gabriel aqui, o nosso
okay.
Gabriel McPaulin, nosso brother aí.
Ele consegue ler o Jarvis?
So Jarvis,
yeah.
Can you? Okay, so the next question is from one of our viewers, Gabriel McPaulin. He is asking, you would like to hear your thoughts on the health of heavy metal nowadays, especially as you have done so much with your own bands and the legendary bands you are involved in management. What are your thoughts about all this?
I mean, I think it's pretty healthy. I think maybe that there's a bright side to the pandemic. Maybe we needed a break. Like the scene was getting a little stale. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not saying. I mean, look, if I had the option, no pandemic. Trust me. Like, I don't think there's a lot more damage it's done to a lot of people mentally too. But that's a whole nother conversation. I think that. I'll say this, like, I'll never play a show again and take it for granted. there was a time in December of 2019 where my band was coming to the tour bus every night and waking me up going, hey, it's time to play the gig. And I would be like, all right, let's do this. Like, so I can go back to sleep or something.
You'll always think that it might be your last, right?
Yeah, and that's the right attitude to have. I needed something like that. But I think the state of heavy metal is fine. I think a lot of people are really going to appreciate it now. There's this idea that many people will never go to concerts again, right? Well, I don't believe that's true. But if it is, I think a lot of people that stopped going to concerts are going to come back. Okay? And especially with heavy metal. So heavy metal is a live type of music. You tour, you play live. It's made to play live. So
yes.
And all the
and not sitting on tables.
No.
Watching the band.
Right. All the metal concerts now they're selling out like right when they go on sale. People are excited about it. So the health of heavy metal is just it's only going to be as good as its bands. The scene, the people will always be there, but the bands need to give them something. They need to give them some good music. They need to evolve into something better, and as long as we have good bands, it's good. A lot of younger people are not into music anymore. They're not into rock music or playing an instrument. They're into their phones and computer games and fake music where a computer does it for you,
Yes.
And that's so I think it's underground in a way of that. But if we want a future after the Metallicas and the Maidens and the Priests and bands like that, when those bands are gone, then we need to the bands right now need to step it up a little bit and really, really take it seriously. Even if they can't afford to do it, just fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. You can fucking do it. These bands made it when they had no money. They did. So.
Ok. Portanto, ele acha que o heavy metal está bem e com saúde, que a pandemia que trouxe muito mal, muitas coisas más a muita gente, mas que também foi algo que teve algum aspecto positivo, se podemos falar assim. Um deles foi, eles já estavam numa situação em que estavam em tour, e já pediam só para ser chamados na altura em que iam tocar. Ele não quis dizer que era um frete, mas já faziam aquilo quase que por obrigação, e a pandemia fez-los ver que não, eles têm que entender que cada concerto é como se fosse o último que eles, que pode ser o último que eles possam alguma vez tocar, portanto eles têm que dar o máximo para que o heavy metal se mantenha sempre no topo, porque bandas como os Metallica, Judas Priest e outras, quando desaparecerem, terá que haver outras bandas que os substituam, e mesmo sem fazer a quantidade de dinheiro que esses gigantes fizeram e continuam alguns a fazer, não pode haver desculpas e têm que dar sempre o máximo para manter sempre o heavy metal no topo, tal como esteve até agora. Então, passamos, não sei...
Eu vou encerrar uma, Barrote.
Ok.
Só para... Né, o Miguel não apareceu, caiu, enfim, mas a gente vai finalizar com uma questão um pouco polêmica. Existe um crítico musical aqui no Brasil muito conhecido, chamado Regis Tadeu, e ele tem uma implicância enorme com bandas como Cirith Ungol, né? Né, uma dificuldade de absorver essa proposta de bandas como Cirith Ungol, Manila Road, e ele fala abertamente mal dessas bandas há muito tempo, desde os anos 80. Então, o pessoal, né, na época das revistas, aí formava muita opinião. Então, existe um grande grupo das bandas mainstream, Metallica, Iron Maiden, né? E existe um grupo aí que o Jarvis comentou muito bem, que é um grupo bastante forte, bastante antigo, né? O Cirith Ungol, por exemplo, é desde os anos 70, mas que daí no momento que cai, né, para uma crítica, né, o pessoal parece não absorver o conceito dessas bandas que tem uma história e uma raiz bastante profunda. Que tipo de mensagem ele gostaria de falar para esse crítico, para esses críticos que têm essa visão mais mainstream do heavy metal e não dá oportunidade de conhecer ou se aprofundar mais em algumas bandas? Não sei, é difícil, né, Barrote, falar tudo isso, né?
No, eu penso que percebi. So the question is, there is a guy in Brazil that is very critic of bands that do not belong to the mainstream world, and he usually talks very bad things about those bands like Cirith Ungol and others. Mm-hmm. And the result of that is that a lot of people that rely only on those types of critics and the texts that they write don't get to know really well bands like yours. So what JK wants to know is, what kind of message would you give to a critic, a person like that says all the bad things about any band that do not belong to the mainstream area of metal?
Well, it's funny because with social media, everybody's a fucking critic now. Yeah. I mean, you could say something really positive and you will still get somebody who will comment and say something negative about something positive you just said. And you'll be like, even further, you'll say like, wait, I know that guy. Or like, he's my friend, you know? Why is this happening? It's fucking ridiculous. And I'm so over that shit. I don't have any discussions with people publicly online anymore like this. It's just crazy. But, you know, it's a hard thing. I usually don't talk about anything unless it's positive. Like, if I have something negative to say about a band, I just don't talk about them and I don't mention it. It's not worth it. Talking bad about things makes you feel disgusting, and everybody around you. I mean, come on, just have a conversation about how much you hate a band and walk away and leave and just check in with yourself and see how you feel.
Yes.
You don't feel good, you know? It's like, what's the point? What's the point? Yes, there's some terrible bands out there, okay? There are some bands that I see, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you thinking? You know, like, this is god-awful. But millions of people love it, so, you know, like, you know, that's fine.
You
But
have
that's
to
not,
respect those people, yeah.
there's something that they say, it's a known fact that success breeds haters. I've seen it on my end, and I've seen it with people much more successful than me. So, you know, I don't know. But with the critics, I'll say this. With the rock critics, if that's what you're asking. You know, most people these days are journalists because they love what they do, because they love the music. Like, they don't get paid, or they don't get paid very much. It's not like before where it was a legitimate job. You could go to college or something in the 70s for music journalism and get a job, hopefully with a magazine or something, you know, and get paid and make a living and get in that industry. It doesn't really exist these days, you know, and it's tough. So a lot of people are having to do it themselves. I appreciate everybody that's willing to go out there and review a band, because I don't know how many people even read reviews anymore. Back in the day before internet, man, if somebody gave you a bad review on television or in Rolling Stone, like, that could have been very well your career, or that album probably didn't sell a lot for a long time, right? So these days, you know, like I said, everybody's a critic, but I really do appreciate the journalists out there, that a lot of the people, they're just doing it because they love doing it. You know, they want to talk about things that they like, and they want to spread the word and support the people who create it. And they're just as much a part of this as we are. They're creating content too. You know, you guys are creating content with this channel. Somebody can go to your YouTube channel and see interviews with so many great people and learn so many things. And, you know, we're talking about things about life, not just, hey, watch, you know, it's hard being on a stage all the time, because you always feel like, hey, watch this, you know, watch this, Mom, you know, watch what I can do. Come on, you know, like I appreciate good writing and good journalism. If somebody has at least if they're honest and they have a great approach to it, and they listen to it, and they can critique it and say, hey, these guys really missed the mark. Hey, so we all need to be told when we suck. It makes us better, you know? Some people are told that they're great all the time, and we've seen what kind of music those people put out, you know? They were once great.
That's constructive criticism.
Right. But, you know, look, I'm not a fan of anything negative, so I figured, like, especially in a scene like a heavy metal scene, like, if I was going to put out a magazine that was just about true heavy metal, I wouldn't even write about Five Finger Death Punch, or I wouldn't write about Godsmack. I wouldn't even write about them. Like, they would have no place in my magazine anyway, you know? So here I go naming bands. I shouldn't have done that, man. I shouldn't have done that.
I noticed.
I shouldn't have done that. I'm sure their fans won't care. Their fans won't even watch this interview, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm on your side on that one.
Yeah. But those guys sell many more records than me, so they don't have to defend themselves against me.
Yes.
But in my opinion, like, I mean, why would I ever want to listen to that, you know, or go see that? Like, I'd just rather go to a bar and fight a guy, you know, like, it's kind of like, anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but those bands, although we don't like the band particularly, but they have their space, they have their world, they have their fans, so we have to respect them as well, because we also want them to respect us, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Do unto others what
yeah. No.
What do you want them to do to you?
I'm all about the golden rule. I'm just telling you, for me, if you want my opinion, like, I think everybody can. You're never too old to get into good music. So, like, when they play Night Demon on, like, Sirius XM Liquid Metal, I get happy. Some of our fans will be like, well, why are you playing, you know, they play in those other bands on there. I'm like, yeah, but their fans now get to hear something that's true, you know? So anyway, all right. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm gonna get myself into trouble.
Ok. Resumidamente, o que é que se diz a um crítico que só fala mal de determinadas bandas? Não fales. Fala só daquelas que falas bem e E não fales das outras. Ponto final. Para que estar a falar de coisas que não gostas? Mais vale não falar. Não te estamos a ouvir, JK.
Simples assim. Galera, eu acho que a gente fechou, né, cara? 1h09. Vamos agradecer aí ao Jarvis, né, Barrote? O Miguel nos deu um calote, né?
Miguel? Deu um migué?
Deu um migué, como fala no Brasil aqui. Acho que a gente já pode se despedir aí, agradecer, né? Por gentileza, Antônio.
Jarvis, so we reached the end of the interview. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, you
for
guys are awesome.
your answers, for your great answers. It was very, very good. And we hope to see you soon. Live.
Yeah, thank you.
In Brazil and Portugal.
We will most definitely be back to those places. All right. We'll see you guys. Nice. Okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
you. Muito bom, galera. Obrigado, Jarvis.
Obrigado.
Thank you so much.
Obrigado.
E já vazou. Muito bom.
Muito bom.
Vamos fazer aqui a nossa propaganda, né? Terça-feira que vem aí é Protector, Barrote. O que você acha do Protector?
É uma boa banda.
É uma boa.
Pegou de calça curta. Pegou Barrote de calça curta.
Então tem Protector, Alemanha, aí a gente já entra em junho com o pé na porta, né, Ivan? Protector aí.
Thrash metal.
Martin Misse e continuem nos seguindo aí. A gente já tá com uma agenda com o Heavy Brasilis, trazendo aí os músicos que tocaram no Into the Strange, do Mutilator, né? Aquele clássico álbum da Cogumelo Records. Vai ser no dia 4.
Dia 4.
Na próxima. Isso.
Não essa sexta-feira, na primeira sexta-feira de junho.
Primeira sexta-feira de junho. Vão acompanhando. Obrigado, Antônio, pela ajuda aí, pelo grande trabalho. O Miguel também participou na primeira meia hora, né? E isso aí, galera.
20 minutos.
20 minutos. Continuem se cuidando aí.
Né? Coisa não morram, né?
Não morram.
Não morram.
Se mantenham vivos. E obrigado pela audiência aí. Antônio, obrigado, Miguel. Miguel em casa aí, espero que esteja assistindo, né, Miguel?
Faça o dever de casa, né?
Isso aí. E obrigado, Ivan.
Se inscreva no canal. Valeu.
Se inscreva no canal. Abraço. Valeu.